2.
Ready. You ready? Can't tell. Good.
You go get my report out of the printer. Oh, glad it got updated. Now I can take notes. And change the whole page.
Doesn't look like that.
You use Pilot?
Just that one. Well, that's okay. We can fix it during the day.
No, we got late season tags.
Well, I didn't do it. I had them do it.
Oh,
They didn't do it separately.
Just signed into the wrong page. So we'll try and go back. Just kind of. Yeah. I don't- Just Saturday.
everyone good? We call this meeting to order, November 5th, 2024. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
America.
All right, good morning, all. We do have a quorum present this morning with all 5 commissioners in attendance. Commissioners, if you've had a chance to review the agenda and you have no corrections, I would ask what your pleasure is.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Jones,
move to approve the agenda as presented.
a motion to approve by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Second order of business this morning is a public hearing for a budget amendment. Under tab A, we've got resolution 24-11-CL-01, a budget amendment to increase the elections fund capital budget and decrease the elections operating budget. And at this time, I'll hand it over to Clerk Lane. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Happy Election Day. I am here requesting this move from capital from my operating due to the fact that we've had to add we call them Binkers, but they're the handheld scanners for the UPC code readers on our absentee ballots. And they have an updated version that has more security. It's now 2D instead of 1D, and our scanners were only 1D. So we have purchased those. It's just better to have it under operating because, from operating to the capital, since it is a long-term item. So we want it in the appropriate place. And I had not asked for any capital since I didn't think I was going to need any this year, but that is my request.
Thank you, Cindy. Questions on the budget amendment, commissioners? Hearing none, we do need to have a public hearing. So at this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to this amendment, that would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Jones,
move to approve resolution 24-11-CL-01, budget amendment in the amount of $1,500.
do you have a motion to approve the resolution by Commissioner Jones? Sounds like we have a second from Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Okay,
Thanks, Cindy.
thank you.
Enjoy your day.
I shall.
It's finally here.
Finally, it is so nice it's here. All right.
That's going to move us right along into the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda. If there's anyone online or in the audience that would like to address the governing body, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of the agenda, and that's going to move us right along into tab B. Under tab B this morning is the consent agenda. We have 8 items before you, commissioners. First being the approval of the October 15th, 2024 meeting minutes. We've got the approval of the county vouchers, warrants, and the expenditure approval listing, the approval of bonds, approval of monthly reports, the approval of the November 5th, 2024 abates and rebates, the approval of the human service agreements, a request to restaff a vacant position in the county attorney's office, and a request to restaff a vacant position in the maintenance custodial department. Commissioners, I would ask if there's any requests to remove any items off the consent agenda. Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Moving right along this morning, this will bring us to commissioner comments. And Commissioner Jones, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A little longer than normal today, but after our previous commission meeting on the 15th of October, I attended the Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County Building and Grounds Committee meeting. Updates were given on the oncology suite, medical imaging, the lab expansion, MOB entrance, the foundation area renovation, and also their master plan for the future. On the 16th, I attended the Hospital Quality Committee meeting where the patient safety plan was reviewed, hardship for quality and its costs were reviewed. Quality numbers are on a positive trend up there, so that's good news. The one of the highlighted items was likely to recommend is on an upward trend. The hospital also was selected by Newsweek as one of the top 5 hospitals in Wyoming. Also on the 16th, I attended the Events Complex Master Planning meeting. Thanks to Candy and her team for the update and the information. I have long been a supporter of the Events Complex and look forward to the expansions, the improvements over the next several years. Also on the 16th, I attended a public meeting for the Jackalope Wind Farm project. I spent about an hour and a half asking questions of various representatives that they had there. Unfortunately, I continue to receive no answers or conflicting answers from their representatives or answers that quite honestly aren't truthful. It's very frustrating. Spent that much time in these meetings only to find out I could have been far more productive doing something else. On the 17th, along with County Land Planner Eric Bingham, I attended a cooperator meeting with BLM regarding the Jackalope Wind Farm project. It was an interesting 4-hour meeting. It also was a cooperator meeting, so I really can't speak to the specifics of it. Also on the 17th, attended the Sweetwater GOP meeting. Continues to surprise me that so many of the candidates who ran this year calling others rhinos, yet they continually fail to support the Republican Party. It's a little frustrating. The weekend of the 18th through the 20th, I traveled to Colorado with my wife and son for a birthday weekend, of which I don't believe I received any chocolates, but my son actually found us front row tickets for a concert of a lifetime. It was Judas Priest, a concert group I've followed since high school. Lead singer Rob Halford was sick, but at 73 years of age, after over 50 years of concerts and albums, he still put on an amazing show. So it was that was pretty special and pretty neat to be in front row. On the 22nd, I attended a meeting with Forrest Kaminga, the manager of State Trails, and Sandra Sanderson, Outdoor Recreation and Special Projects Coordinator for WYDOT, in order to begin the process of narrowing down the roads that would be used to build a trail system in Southwest Wyoming for UTVs, ATVs, Jeeps, et cetera. If you all remember, we enrolled all county roads in that SWAT program. So this is the beginning of the creation of the routes. Also on the 22nd, I joined Commissioner Richards for dinner with Wyoming State Parks and Cultural Resources Director Dave Glenn, Deputy Director Cultural Resources Sarah Sheen, Chris Floyd, Nick Nolan, and Mark Lyon to have a general conversation, kind of an icebreaker regarding recreation in Sweetwater County. On the 23rd, I attended most of the museum board meeting. Normal business was conducted. That week, I also attended some of the political debates put on by the Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce. Thanks to Rick Lee for putting these on. There were definitely some interesting moments. On the 26th, I attended the Green River Trunk or Treat. Great event, and it's always fun to see the kids out having fun, and the weather was nice, so that helped. On the 30th, I attended the Hospital Finance and Audit Committee meeting. Discussion took place around the hospital beginning to bill as a critical access hospital, which began October 1st. The issue that they're facing is that Medicare will not allow them to bill anything yet until critical access is 100% granted, and there's a few steps they have to go through between when they start billing and when they get fully licensed. So the issue then is that they cannot bill for those at all. So there's going to be a couple of months or so where they will fall behind on their billing. And then, of course, it will take time to get those bills out and get caught up. So the government supposedly was helping us, federal government supposedly helping us, but it puts us back on revenues. I also discussed the delay of the lab expansion and a change order due to it being delayed 151 days because of the sewer problems they uncovered, which nobody knew about. Also was relayed to us that the city of Rock Springs held up the project 30 days. On the 31st, I attended the Sweetwater GOP Trunk or Treat in Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce. Once again, great time to see so many happy kids. And thanks to the GOP for the support of our community. Great opportunity for the candidates to get out and see some folks and hand out some candy. On November 1st, I attended the Federal Partners meeting and appreciated hearing from the BLM and Ashley National Forest. Also on the 1st, Senator Jones and myself were asked to be presenters at the Rock Springs Chamber Rockstar Awards. Wonderful evening celebrating so many great businesses in the area. Rick Lee and his staff put on a really nice event. And there is a video that I think is worth highlighting. If you're ready, tell me when. Some real skills, one might even refer to them as mad skills, were presented. And so just think it's important to share with everybody. Not all of us are that skilled. So
Pretty good dance moves.
Is that how you fix the plumbing?
Looked a lot like Tom Cruise to me.
On the 2nd, I attended the Cowboys Against Cancer fundraiser. As usual, it was a huge success, and Sweetwater County should continue to be proud of how caring and generous we all are. Cancer has affected people we all know and love. It's an illness that doesn't discriminate and can be just devastating to families. Thanks to Margaret Perry and all of her volunteers for their hard work. It was a great evening, good opportunity to have brief but valuable conversations with Governor Gordon, Representative Hageman, and of course, Senator Barrasso. Yesterday, the 4th, I was on the radio with Johnny Kay discussing the BLM RMP, where it stands, and the fact that Governor Gordon has sent in his comments from his consistency review period to the BLM. So now we wait for the final record of decision due out the first part of December. We'll see what the BLM does with his comments as well as ours from the county. I would like to take a second and thank Eric and John once again for all of your time and hard work. Incredible work you guys put in and just invaluable. So appreciate that. I would like to mention to the public that there were 35,000 comments that were turned into the BLM. I'd like to thank you all for getting involved. Your time is not wasted, and it is important that you stay engaged in these. This RMP has been a long journey. It goes back several years. I'm sure Commissioner Tillman can remind us how many, but it's been very time consuming for the U4 and myself. And hopefully we will see something come to fruition. Hopefully. I really would like to express that I think it was an overwhelming majority of people in Sweetwater County and Wyoming who were entirely or mostly opposed to the RMP. So I would hope that the BLM takes that into consideration in their final steps moving forward. It's up to them to prove whether they are trustworthy or not trustworthy. So I'll hold out hope that they do what's right. That concludes my comments.
Thanks, Commissioner. I just wanted to point it out that the last time you took a jab at me, it was about safety. And so if you'll notice, there was a hard hat in that dance depiction. So
Point well
taking notes
taken.
over here. Congratulations to the hospital on their top 5 vote too. Very impressive. Questions or comments for Commissioner Jones's report? If not, it looks like I'm up next. I also attended the Events Complex Master Planning meeting on October 16th. We reviewed 2 different options and were asked to select the option that we felt best fit the future of the complex and the community. As with all master planning efforts, success is driven by available funds, but I commend Candy and her staff for their vision along with their board. It will be interesting to see what some of the associated costs come to as we continue to budget and support the Events Complex board and their goals. It's a busy place with multiple events, and much of the conversation centered around trying to find that mix between public and outside attraction uses. The local taxpayers deserve to use and appreciate the amenities that the complex offers, but in order to continue to make improvements and keep up with the needs, recruitment of outside events like the rodeos, RV rallies, and the like are key in providing some of the necessary revenue sources. So it takes a balance, and we're certainly wanting to make sure that we're taking care and providing for our own. The master plan helps account for a mix of both, and I'll be anxious to see what that means for the future. I had a virtual meeting with County Grants Manager Christina Marshall and members from YGAP to discuss the opioid settlement funds as well as the problematic gambling funds and trying to coordinate a plan and seeking to expend those available monies. YGAP has also partnered with a consulting firm called Haggerty Consulting, who specialize in assisting with the proper use and tracking of the funds such as these. As you might recall, the county has a little over $900,000 in opioid funds and around $75,000 in problematic gambling, with more on the horizon. Ultimately, we will be working to further identify the key stakeholders that should or could utilize these funds and begin to develop an effective process to determine when and how the funds should be released. The objectives will be who are the stakeholders, what is the impact, and what are the needs. It will take a little time, but I believe we're a little past due in figuring out a way to put the funds to use within the community and in those areas who are in need rather than simply allowing the funds to sit and accumulate interest. I briefly discussed this with both the Board of Health and Southwest Counseling and asked that they begin to prepare the data on what their impacts are or have been and how they would best utilize either of the funds. As mentioned, we'll likely have more stakeholder involvement, but since I liaised to both of those meetings last week, I felt it was an appropriate time to put a plug in. That helps segue into, I attended the monthly Board of Health's meeting last Wednesday morning. Stacy Doliner was appointed to take over as board chair after Kathy Coomer tendered her resignation. I would like to thank Kathy for her service and dedication to the District Board of Health. She will be missed. The board has decided to postpone their wage analysis study. They've been working with county HR department to provide the assessment, but due to the workload within the HR department and some other conflicts, it was encouraged that the board seek outside proposals. After receiving those and learning of the associated cost, they chose to delay in hopes that they can revisit the matter later on with HR in the future. As such, they went ahead and approved a 3% cost of living adjustment for their employees retroactively back to the beginning of the fiscal year. The board also discussed the recent E. coli news and informed that the district, and in particular the county health officer, were informed of the news by a media source who had called seeking information. Without getting into too many details, I just wanted to share that those communication lines and the lack thereof have been addressed between the state and the county health officers. It's a bit troubling to be one of the last to hear about such a thing, considering that is one of the main purposes in having a district board of health, the environmental health department, or certainly a county health officer. I find that completely unacceptable, whether that's the CDC, the Department of Agriculture, or the Wyoming Department of Health to blame. I wish the local franchises the best as they adapt to recover from that unfortunate occurrence. Last Wednesday evening, I attended my monthly Southwest Counseling Mental Health Board meeting. Clerk Lane had all of her election equipment locked up tight in the HHS conference room. So after a brief, what are we supposed to do now moment, it was decided we'd go down in the basement and sit in a circle like the old Duck, Duck, Goose days, which made for an interesting couple-hour meeting. The board handled usual business and voted to approve continuing a contract with a firm called Open Minds with the intent to develop a strategic plan for the board. Board Chairman Kayleen Logan has put together a list of stakeholders for Open Minds to schedule meetings with to get feedback from multiple agency involvement and hopes that it will provide a plan forward on addressing some of the various needs community-wide. I was asked to participate in that planning process. I look forward to sharing what progress comes about with that. Staff there did share that they've seen a decrease in their open access clientele numbers over the last quarter or so. Open access is essentially their walk-in service where individuals can simply show up during specific days and times to seek assistance, or they can also call and schedule appointments during those timeframes. In theory, you would think that a decrease in numbers is a good thing overall for the community. The staff believes it is more of a depiction in individuals choosing to not seek the help they may need. They haven't been able to put a finger onto as to why the sudden decrease, especially since the changes in the behavioral health redesign were essentially created to allow for little to no expense for the individual. We shared that without the true up from the state this year with the behavioral health redesign program, the agency would not be able to make payroll. So some concerning news to make you all aware of there. We'll keep our eye on. I'm still looking to fill a vacancy on the Southwest Counseling Mental Health Board, and we'll be looking to fill Kathy's seat on the Board of Health as well. I hope to have a recommendation on both for you at our next meeting on the 19th. We do have a few applications on file for each opening, so I'll start doing some homework there. But if you hear or know of anyone that would be interested, please send them our way. Commissioner Toman has strategically scheduled a meeting with the Rock Springs and Young at Heart and the two of us for November 18th, which happens to also be when she's on vacation. So I assume I'll take over the reins on that one, and the meeting will take place for the purpose of discussing the budget and the MOU between the three entities. So
I did not schedule it.
hopefully we can clarify the proper processes and offer a better understanding for their board. Wanted to quickly mention that with the Thanksgiving holiday, the Green River Star has informed that they will be bumping up the advertising deadline for our first meeting in December. So we will have until 5 p.m. on November 25th to submit our agenda. In response, rather than the deadline for the county staff getting any agenda items submitted by 5 p.m. like usual, we will be moving that up to noon on the 25th to allow for the remaining time to organize the agenda and obtain approval prior to print. So long story short, noon on the 25th rather than 5 PM for the December 3rd agenda. We'll send out some additional reminders, but just wanted to give you a quick heads up on that. And the last couple of items, if you're still with me, last week we received a notice of filing that the Industrial Siting Council is in receipt of the application for the Kemmer Power Station Unit 1 project, better known as Terra Power. I believe Commissioner Richards will be providing an update on that, so I'll save you time there. But we also had a request from the Wyoming County Commissioners Association to establish one commissioner per county out of the Central Wyoming region to participate in the planning of the 2025 congressional tour. The Central region includes Carbon, Fremont, Natrona, and Sweetwater counties. It looks like their first meeting is Friday, which is virtual. And so I was curious if we had any volunteers to help head that effort up. Don't all speak at once.
I heard Commissioner Slaughter wanted to chair, but I said I would help him.
I'm starting to wonder about Commissioner Tolman's ears. Mr. Chairman, I would be willing to do it. I'm not sure about my availability on Friday, however, which creates a problem. So
If you want, I can attend Friday and kind of get the basis, and I can share with them that you're willing to kind of head it up on our behalf if that works for you.
yeah, that would be fine.
Okay.
I'd be glad to do that.
Everyone good with that? Well, thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate you stepping up for that. That concludes my report, Commissioners. I'd stand for any questions. If not, Commissioner Slaughter, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the 21st, I conducted the monthly meeting of the Specific Purpose Tax Joint Powers Board. To date, we've collected $26,854,500.82. Our monthly collections have averaged slightly over $1.6 million, which is well ahead of what was anticipated at the time we planned this. We continue to approve several requisitions each month, and projects appear to be moving forward well. Prior to the November meeting, I will be reaching out to representatives of the North Sweetwater District to get an update on their plans and their timeframe, as they have yet to expend any significant funding, and I have not had contact with them over the last couple of months. On the 24th, I received a copy of Governor Gordon's consistency review of the recommended changes to the BLM proposed resource management plan for the Rock Springs field office. I felt that the governor hit most of the key elements that the BLM failed to comply with in their own rules, and made many proposed changes that were consistent with the response sent by Sweetwater County. I think it once again exemplified the quality of work that's been done by our staff along with Danielle Bettencourt. It will be interesting to see the BLM record of decision when it comes out in the first part of December. On the 1st, I spent the morning updating the accounting spreadsheet that I maintain for the Specific Purpose Tax Board and signing and processing requisitions that were received the prior day. Later, my voice does not want to work. Later that day, I attended a meeting to review revised drafts. Well, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Not something I typically have happen when I can't talk. Later that day, I attended a meeting to review revised drafts of Dry Creek impact assistance statements. Commissioner Richards, Planner Eric Bingham, and Deputy County Attorney John DeLeon and I reviewed the impact assistance requests for the various county entities. We made several adjustments and further developed strategy for the hearing to be held before the Industrial Siting Council on November 22nd. We will have the Dry Creek pre-hearing, and the ISA hearing will be held on December 3rd. We also discussed the IA for Kemmer Unit 1. Commissioner Richards volunteered to represent us at their MOU meeting this Thursday in Kemmer. On the 2nd, Marielle and I attended the Cowboys Against Cancer benefit at the Sweetwater County Events Complex. It's an extremely well-organized and attended event that we enjoy every year. It astounds me every year that they can exceed the presentation of the prior year. This year, we were honored to have United States Senator John Barrasso, United States Congressman Harriet Hegman, Governor Mark Gordon, and Superintendent of Public Instruction Megan Degenfelder in attendance. This organization has positively affected many lives locally with the financial support that they provide to cancer patients. With Margaret Perry at the helm, Cowboys Against Cancer is leading the charge to help minimize the effects of cancer by awarding grants to local cancer patients to help defray the costs of travel and other expenses. Since its inception, Cowboys Against Cancer has given over $6 million to Sweetwater County cancer patients. Yesterday, I had my monthly meeting with County Public Works Director Legursky. Our talk centered around our agenda items for today, along with updates on projects that are ongoing and the preparation his department has been making to prepare for the winter season. I will read his report in just a moment. I also wanted to mention that I did spend several days in the last 3 weeks elk hunting, and I would like to tell everyone that I am an excellent elk hunter. I am a very poor elk finder. So I will continue my elk hunting efforts later on as we have permits later on in the month that are still valid. I would wish everyone a happy election day. Let everyone know that I voted this morning. Very proud to have the opportunity here in this nation to be able to vote. And I would hope that anyone who has not taken that opportunity would get out and do that today. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll read our Public Works Department report. Buildings, the Sweetwater County Library renovation projects bid a third time, and we received qualified bids on 2 of the 3 library projects. The third project at the White Mountain Library will bid for a 4th time on December 3rd. Lindsay Travis received permission from the State Library again to rebid the project, and they will delay the mandatory start of construction date without any ramifications to the grant. The Southwest Counseling Duran project redid the roof, soffits, and fascia over the last couple of weeks. The contractor will start the interior portion of the project after Christmas. This gives Southwest Counseling time to plan for the reduction in rooms and the consolidation of facilities. The Southwest Counseling Jonah modular bid that will be ratified at this meeting was accepted by SLIB with the bid alternates as presented. Even though we removed the deductive bid alternate and didn't award one of the ad alternates for this project, SLIB is going to hold the total grant award for Sweetwater County so that we might be able to change order these alternates back in the project if other money becomes available. Grothouse had a subcontractor bid on October 23rd, 24. They had great participation from most trade groups. This competitive sub-bidding procedure will result in a great project for everyone. We're still looking to start around the middle of November. The Rock Springs Youth Home is progressing slowly because of trade schedules and hunting. We hope to have everything wrapped up by Thanksgiving. The Detention Center RTU AHU project will be bid on Thursday. We have an addendum that will go out today regarding how the safety rails tie to the grouted CMU parapet wall. Other than this, the minor clarification for the pre-bid went well. This project will be presented to the board during our November 29th meeting. The new door for the salt sand building was installed in Rock Springs a couple weeks ago. This large overhead door was paid for through the board's capital project allocation. All of the backup generators for the buildings had their annual load test completed and maintenance checks. We also topped off their fuel tanks. This happened just in time for the generator to be used twice at the detention facility and at the HHS building. We've been working on a long-term capital plan for all of the Sweetwater County buildings based on the facility condition assessments. This will help everyone understand long-term capital cost ramifications of keeping Sweetwater County buildings functioning. We're hoping to have this all ironed out by mid-January. Maintenance crew handled 81 work order requests in October. Road and Bridge, the moisture over the last couple of weeks and the non-freezing temperatures helped with our annual fall push on getting roads ready for winter. Crews are still replacing cattle guards and culverts. We also added a larger culvert on County Road number 38 that will help with the road overstopping during the short duration, high intensity storms. All of the plows are up and ready to go. Last week, this was needed for the western quarter of the county as the storm dropped 4 to 6 inches snow west of Peru Hill to the county line. The mechanics and I are working on a 10-year major equipment replacement plan so we can try and help the BOCC with long-term capital planning and needs. Engineering, the McKinnon Road punch list items have been completed and we're just waiting on the seeding contractor. County Road number 15, 9 Mile Road plans and specifications are out to contractors. We will have a pre-bid meeting on November 19th with the bids being due on December 5th, 2025. This project will be brought to the BOCC during our meeting December 17th. Wyoming Department of Transportation is working on the 2025 CMAQ contract. This will hopefully be presented to us during our next meeting. We had a meeting with Trout Unlimited last week regarding the large culvert that needs to be replaced on Sage Creek by the Logan Ranch. Staff has been working on several alternatives for this large culvert, and we are currently evaluating the best, most cost-effective long-term solution. Trout Unlimited also provided some insight into the remaining grant funding for projects of this type along Sage Creek. Staff is also working on the preliminary scoping of our asphalt overlay, crack seal, dust control, and paint striping projects for next year. Parks and Rec. The Parks Department finished the top dressing of the Reliance Ball Field and one of the softball fields at Crossroads. They will finish the other softball field at Crossroads in the next few weeks. The women's bathroom at Crossroads was vandalized on October 23rd, 24. A report was filed with the sheriff's office. However, because of the damage to the restroom, it was closed and all the restrooms at the park were closed. The Aero Modulars facility reseeding project will be completed this week, weather permitting. We will then place concrete barriers and signs to hopefully help people from driving over the reclaimed areas. Mr. Chairman, that concludes our Public Works Department report along with my report, and I would stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate the report. Any questions for Commissioner Slaughter's report?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards?
just a comment to Road and Bridge, the work that they did on County Road 36 over this summer, adding roto mill to the hills and some corners was a phenomenal improvement come time for the storms that hit out there. So good job on that.
I will make sure that Mr. Legursky is informed of your comments.
Very good. Commissioner Tillman, the floor is yours.
Well, there seems to be no lack of work for all of us. I tried to condense mine so I didn't take everyone else's, steal all of their thunder. I did attend on October 17th, the Coalition of Local Governments meeting in Lyman. On a monthly basis, we have a 3-page agenda where we address every federal plan, project, et cetera. A lot of that's pre-decisional. So I'm not going to go through every item, but we do go through and recommend to our legal counsel to write legally defensible, scientifically credible comments for the administrative record, which we continue to ratify also through our commission process. On October 18th, I attended the airport board meeting and I toured the new temporary terminal. It's awesome. It looks like a regular building. It's comfortable. So I tell people, get your airline tickets out of Rock Springs. Our next meeting will be this Friday, or November 15th, not this Friday, next Friday at 10:30, the next airport board meeting. And I believe Devin is coming today, so I won't discuss everything. He does continue along with the board to seek additional FAA funding for that terminal project. So far we're doing pretty well. October 22nd, while the weather was still nice, I decided to drive the Wild Horse Loop Tour Road from 191 to Green River. The road was in good shape and I saw a herd of horses of 13, but I would recommend that the public not tour that road during wet weather. It is not, it's an isolated area. You don't want to be sliding off that road up there on your own. October 22nd, I attended the Young at Heart meeting as liaison. As Commissioner West said, they have set up a meeting for November 18th to review the MOU and discuss the maintenance needs of the Young at Heart Center. I will miss that. So thank you. I didn't schedule it. They did have a dishwasher crash. I don't know, some kind of electrical issue with a $20,000 dishwasher, but the insurance company will pay for that. So that's the good news. On the 24th, I attended another National Old Growth Forest Zoom meeting. This time they broke us into subgroups to discuss different aspects of the forest, of that old growth plan, like vegetation, fire, etc. October 27th, I attended the Red Desert Roundup Rodeo Queen pageant. My adorable niece, Taylor, won the Princess Division. Ashton Folks was attendant and Junior Princess was Kennedy Kleinlein. Miss Congeniality was Ashton Folks and overall horsemanship was Taylor Hernandez. So great job, girls. And thank you to their sponsors. They go out and seek sponsors to help fund the girls' travel for the summer. October 29th, I did a Zoom meeting with the Wyoming Landscape Conservation Initiative. I serve as an alternate for the commissioners on that committee and have been on that board since inception in 2017. Currently have no new BLM funding, but hopefully with the new budget, they will have some. They're working with a Good Neighbor Authority with the Department of Agriculture so they can receive other funding from other grants to act as a match for projects. They're also working with the Weed and Pest Boards to do something similar. Ongoing projects that have been vetted through the local project team process shall receive priority for continuing funding when there is WLCI BLM match funds available. They prepared an updated report for the WLCI from 2017 to 24. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for habitat projects have been spent on hundreds of thousands of acres across the 19 million acre area of Southwest Wyoming to offset the effects of oil and gas and industrial development. For example, 195,000 has been spent from the Sage Grouse Conservation Initiative funds. 565,000 has come from the BIL funds, BIL in Wyoming, and USGS has spent 1.2 million in science. October 31st, the GOP Halloween trunk or treat at Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce. I did attend that. I believe there are over 500 kids receiving candy, hot dogs, and hot chocolate. Thank you to Kelly's Convenience and Island. I gave out the biggest lollipops, however. And Commissioner Taylor, I don't know how he's still alive. He had a t-shirt on and it was freezing cold. So he's tough. I just want you to know that he's tough. He's still here. All through the month of October, I've been working on upcoming board vacancies by posting notices in Farson for the Weed and Pest District north of Highway 28 out of Farson and the Solid Waste Disposal District in Eden Valley. November 1st, I attended the federal partners meeting via Zoom, and thanks to Commissioner Richards for coordinating that process. I will let him report on that one. Upcoming this week, I will be cow hunting for the ranch, so there will be no elk. And then 17th to the 24th, I'm going to escape to Branson, Missouri. So I will try to join the meeting on Zoom. Tomorrow, I will be helping Climb Wyoming with interviews, and I would tell all of our government agencies, if you could run a program as great as that one, I think we could really have some awesome programs. So I'd say follow their model. They do an awesome job. So thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Tillman. Any questions for Commissioner Tillman's report?
Iceman.
Good luck on the cow hunt. Feel free to share any of that with us.
Come along. I'll find a horse for you.
Commissioner Richards, looks like you're closing us out. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. After our meeting on the 15th, I met with Land Use Director Bingham and Chief Deputy County Attorney De Leon to work on nailing down our county-sponsored industrial siting impact requests for the Dry Creek project. Following morning, I joined a housing task force meeting as well as a SEDS project update. As I've relayed to you previously, we decided to invite Lincoln County to participate in what will now be a 3-county comprehensive economic development strategy. In all of his free time, Mr. De Leon is working on getting the MOU updated and getting us a new resolution to adopt reflecting that. Later that day, along with most of you, I attended the master planning session with the events complex. There are some great ideas going into that master plan, and I'm excited to see the final proposals when they're fully developed. The events complex is one of the few places where the county can invest its money and see a direct positive return. And I'm looking forward to seeing the potential that we have out there come to realization in the coming years. On the 17th, I remotely attended the NACO West Region monthly meeting. On the 21st, I attended the library board meeting, which was held at the Rock Springs Library on C Street, where they conducted regular business. On the 22nd, I joined Commissioner Jones for dinner with several representatives of the Wyoming State Parks and Outdoor Recreation. I had some great conversations with each of them regarding different ideas for outdoor recreation in our county, and I look forward to working with them more closely in the future to develop additional opportunities. On the 28th, I attended the Joint Powers Combined Communications Board meeting. They are continuing their search for a new director. On the 31st, I attended the Sweetwater County Republican Party's Grand Ole Halloween Party and Trunk or Treat. I, along with many of my fellow elected officials, dressed up as current and former WWE superstars And along with the many volunteers, we serve the community over 600 hot dogs and 30 gallons of hot chocolate, along with thousands of pieces of candy. Of course, since I was dressed up as the one and only Macho Man Randy Savage, I handed out hundreds of Slim Jims to the kids. I would say that it was a huge success, and I want to thank everyone involved who volunteered and donated to the event. On the first, I attended our monthly federal partners meeting. Federal partners in attendance were Kimberly Foster from the Rock Springs BLM office, Tim Novotny from the Rollins BLM office, Charette Bonomo from the Ashley National Forest, Trinity Lewis from Representative Hegeman's office, and Lindy Lynn from Senator Lummis's office. Kim reported that they expect the record of decision on the Rock Springs RMP to be filed in December, and though they have not yet seen the protest record yet in their local office. She reported that during a cultural review of the Jackalope Wind Farm project, they identified some indigenous human remains, which they will work with the appropriate tribes to reinter, and that the project plans will be adapted accordingly. She said typically when human remains are identified, they are reinterred in the same location or the nearest appropriate location, and that up to a 1 mile buffer zone is put around the spot. 1 mile seems excessive to me, but excessive buffer zones seem to be business as usual for the BLM these days. She reported that appeals against the BLM's horse plan are proceeding at the 10th Circuit level, and that they are planning their first total herd removal in the Salt Wells area for July, pending the court's decisions. Charette Bonomo reported that the Forest Service is operating under a continuing resolution budget, and that they have released all seasonal hires for the year and are not currently planning on any additional seasonal hiring for 2025, pending congressional budgets and guidance from whatever new administration is elected today. Tim Novotny reported they are working on the NEPA process for the Adobe Town herd, which they plan on removing completely on the Rock Springs side of the area and managing a smaller herd size on the Rollins side. Excuse me. The new format we adopted for the federal partners meeting seems to have worked well. We trimmed the invitation list significantly, specifically excluding members of the legislature so that federal partners could speak more freely on pre-decisional topics. Hopefully the pared down list will get more representatives from federal agencies involved. Later that day, I joined Commissioner Slaughter along with Eric and John to further discuss industrial siting requests for Dry Creek. We continue to make progress on that front, and we'll definitely have solid proposals ready by the deadlines. Also on the topic of industrial siting, TerraPower also filed their industrial siting application. Lincoln County will be hosting an MOU meeting on Thursday to both approve an MOU and agree on distribution. There is considerably less funding available in this project than in the last two we've addressed, and we are at the outskirts of the identified affected areas. But I think it would be worth our time to attend and make even a small request, because we will at least see at least some impact, even if it is minimal. In that vein, I would like to ask this body for formal authorization to attend that meeting and negotiate on behalf of Sweetwater County, and also authorization for the chairman to sign the MOU as presented by Lincoln County. I believe I sent you all copies of that MOU, and the chairman has a copy of the signature sheet. Is that an approval I can get from you guys today?
Any feedback, commissioners? Well, I would entertain a motion to authorize Commissioner Richards to attend the MOU meeting this Thursday for the TerraPower Industrial Siting MOU. I guess negotiations of some sort, and authorize the chairman to sign the MOU upon its approval.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Very good. Back to you, Commissioner.
Thank you. I appreciate your continued confidence in me to spearhead the industrial siting impact efforts. I'm not sure how many more of them I have in me, but I'll keep trying. Once the distribution exhibit is completed, we'll probably bring it back here for ratification at the next meeting. Later on the night of the 1st, I attended the Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce's Rockstar Awards, recognizing local businesses for the great work they do. Congratulations to all the winners. They were all well-deserved, and especially to Jerry Zhang and Margaret Perry, who were awarded the Rockstar and Rock Legend Awards, respectively. The whole night was fantastic, especially one particular musical number that was performed by several members of the community, including our very own chairman, who lent both his incomparable singing and dancing talents to the number. Truly a Grammy-worthy performance. Bravo, Mr. Chairman, bravo. On a serious note, it is great to see our elected officials participate in things like that. We rib you, but we truly appreciate
Appreciate
you
that.
did it. Then on the second, I attended the annual Cowboys Against Cancer benefit, where once again, this great community exceeded all expectations and raised well more than $400,000 to support cancer patients here in Sweetwater County. And they expect that number to grow to 450,000 in the coming days as additional receipts come in. Generosity of this county and its willingness to support each other never ceases to amaze me. And I want to thank all the volunteers and donors who made such a feat possible. Speaking of that, I do want to mention that my good friend and former Commissioner Roy Lloyd was recently diagnosed with cancer, and he and his family are currently waging that battle that too many of us know all too well. He wanted me to share with you that this is a battle that he is going to win. As a recent caregiver myself, I also want to point out that it's a battle that his family is also fighting right by his side. His wife, Heidi, his kids, Jory, Caden, Cami, Lynn, and Jacob, together with his 4 grandkids, are all in this together. A meal train was organized to help him and his family, so there is one less thing for them to worry about. So I hope everyone will consider contributing to that or helping them out in any way they can. A link to that is on my personal website, islandrichards.com. Roy has selflessly given a lot to this community, and I know this community is going to be there for him as well. Roy just began treatment, and I hope everyone will offer him their prayers and support. And remember the message of Cowboys Against Cancer. In Sweetwater County, nobody fights cancer alone. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that today is Election Day. I hope everyone steps up and exercises their constitutional duty today in helping to choose our representatives at all levels of government, from board members on the smallest improvement districts to the President of the United States. Every vote you cast is important and vital to the future of our community and our country. I also want to remind everyone that Sweetwater County has safe and secure elections. County Clerk Lane and the people in her office work hard for you and to make sure that each and every one of your votes will be counted and counted correctly. If anyone tells you different, they're just fear mongering, so tell them to pound sand. Going forward tomorrow, I have a housing task force meeting as well as a SEDS project update meeting. On Thursday, I will attend the Impact MOU meeting in Kemmer. On the 13th, I'll attend the monthly Planning and Zoning Commission meetings, as well as the WCCA monthly updates. On the 18th, I will attend an Insight Consulting Project team meeting with the SEDC, followed by an SEDC stakeholders meeting. And later that day, I will attend a combined communications board meeting as well as a library board meeting. There is no fair board meeting in November, but I did want to mention that they opened bids for a new loader, and Candy will probably be bringing those numbers to us at our next meeting. I think you all know that I support providing funding for them to make that purchase, and I believe we can justify it with all the historic racing revenue that comes our way as a result of the real live horse racing that they host. I think that is all I have for you today, Mr. Chairman, and I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate your report. Questions or comments for Commissioner Richards?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one other item.
Commissioner Tillman.
I'm on the National Federal Public Lands Committee, and I did not attend the DC meeting last year, but I have been trying to attend their phone calls, and I've attended the Western Regional meetings in the past. I would like to be able to attend the NACO Public Lands meeting in March in DC, if it's okay with the board.
No. Any other questions? No.
Oh, one less meeting to go to.
Of course it is. I don't think any of us would have a problem with that. And I believe we budgeted accordingly for travel events such as
I
that.
just thought I would check, because last time I waited too long, then I had to hike up the street to get to the conference. Hotel filled up fast.
Very good.
Thank you.
Commissioner Richards, I just wanted to thank you for stepping up again. I know the last time for industrial siding, you said you were out after Dry Creek, and so I thought I was going to draw the short stick on the next one, but when I called to touch base with Eric, you guys were already meeting about it, so I guess a little bit of a blister effect there, but I appreciate you continuing on and helping push through that one, given the tight timelines.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. I think we have a pretty smooth system now. It's time consuming, but we've kind of got into a groove and we know what we're doing. And this one's pretty small comparable to what we've done previously. So.
Very good. And then, yeah, I just wanted to echo your comments on former Commissioner Lloyd and read that news as well, and certainly keep him and his family in our thoughts and prayers. Very unfortunate. With that, commissioners, that does conclude the commissioner comments and reports. Nice work to all. You can tell there was 3 weeks between our last meeting and now. Certainly been busy times, and we'll continue to march forward to close out the year. We are going to move right along into tab C, which is the action and presentation items portion of the agenda. The first item before you this morning is the approval of the fiscal year 2024 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program Interlocal Agreement. And with us this morning is County Grants Manager Christina Marshall, as well as Commander Amanda Salazar from the Rock Springs Police Department. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. Good morning. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the commander has a funeral to attend, so I'm going to try to rush through this item. And at the end, I will ask for your signature if you approve so she can take it with her. Okay. So this is nothing new. The City of Rock Springs is eligible to apply for Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grants, or JAG funding, that can be used to improve the functioning of the criminal justice system in a broad range of program areas. JAG awards are based on a congressionally established formula using national violent crime data and population that is first split at the state level, then the local level. So Sweetwater County is not eligible this time to receive direct JAG funding. But the grant rules state that Sweetwater County must approve the local project as a community partner. This is similar to countywide consensus funding that you're aware of the use in your community. So Rock Springs is proposing to use the grant funding for law enforcement training and to continue to develop policies in accordance with case law. So for 2024, they're eligible to receive $10,813. So this is a continuation of last year's project. The Sheriff's Office has no issues with using the funding for this purpose. I thought you'd find it interesting to see kind of the evolution of funding under JAG awards. And in particular, for this year, they're eligible to receive $10,813 for $169,480 statewide. Back in 2021, there was a similar amount to the state, but Rock Springs was eligible for more. That is due to crime data changing. So just for your information. So if approved, the grant funding would be awarded directly to the City of Rock Springs and would not be passed through Sweetwater County or included in our county audit. Edward Byrne was a police officer in New York City who was killed in the line of duty in 1988 at the young age of 22. So with that, there are 2 originals for you to sign. The commander is here protecting us as well. So if you have any questions for her, she's available too.
Thank you, Christina. Appreciate the background. Any questions or comments on this approval, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 2024 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program Interlocal Agreement and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Sorry to keep you waiting.
So since I have 1 minute left on this agenda item, would you mind signing those
No.
2 originals? And I'm gonna ask our county clerk office manager to attest on behalf of the county clerk.
I gotta find the right one. I think this is it.
That looks like it.
I think time is up. We don't have time to.
Uh-oh. And Sally, I'll scan it in for you.
Done.
Oh, doesn't it? You want the one with the resolution? Probably do.
Thanks, Commander. Appreciate it. Our next item is to ratify and approve the federal fiscal year 2025 community services block grant contracts. And I'll hand it back to Christina.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the Wyoming Department of Health has awarded Sweetwater County $239,793 in Community Services Block Grant Funding, or CSBG for short. These projects were analyzed, prioritized, and recommended by the tripartite board. The term to expend the funding is October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. It requires no cash match. So the purpose of CSBG funding is to alleviate the causes and conditions of poverty. Just so you know, in Sweetwater County, the poverty rate is currently 11.7%. And under the age of 18, it's 15%. And over the age of 65, it's 11% in poverty. However, our unemployment rate is 3.3%. So the proposed uses of CSBG funding will provide stability to families in those percentiles that I mentioned, as well as support progress toward greater self-sufficiency. Eligible clients must be at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. The funding will be passed through to agencies to carry out the direct services. So there are 3 agencies with 5 different programs. The first one is Rock Springs Young at Heart. They will receive a total of $59,420. That is to provide homemaker and CNA services to elderly and disabled individuals. They will also use the funding to provide meals and special diet food to elderly and disabled individuals. Next, Sweetwater Family Resource Center is slated to receive $82,525. That is to provide housing assistance, including emergency rent and utilities. Then there's the YWCA of Sweetwater County, who will receive $61,600. That is to provide childcare services while parents are working, seeking employment, or attending school or other activities. They will also use it to provide rent, deposit payments, and utility payments to victims of domestic violence through the Victim Advocacy Center. Then finally, there's $36,248. That is for Sweetwater County and the tripartite board. This year, we have to do a community needs assessment. That's mandatory every 3 years. I'm thinking we might be able to include language about opioid and problematic gambling in this needs assessment. Also, there's some operational costs. We don't collect indirect costs on this grant, but I make sure that the board has insurance for their volunteer work, as well as advertising, dues, travel, training, and conferences. So the total grant award with all those expenses is $239,793. Under last year's grant, just so you know, 485 individuals were served with this funding. So, Mr. Chairman, you signed the primary contract outside of a regularly scheduled meeting to expedite the start of the term. Allowable expenses incurred on or after October 1 will be reimbursed following your approval of this agenda item. So currently, Commissioner Slaughter is the appointee from the commission to this board and participates very actively on it. So in your packet, I provided the poverty level income guidelines, just so you can get an idea of what it's like to be eligible or the income. So one individual who makes $30,120 or under could request these services. That poverty rate can change. It sometimes has been 125% to serve the poorest of the poor. I've provided 4 contracts. One is the main state contract, and the 3 remaining ones are with those 3 agencies. I would like to give you a heads up that in the main contract, and I believe it's page 12 of your PDF, and in section T, talks about insurance coverage. The Attorney General's office added irrelevant insurance coverage to the contract after we approved a draft. The county is part of the local government liability pool, and also the Wyoming Association of Risk Management. For some reason, they added that in after we approved the draft, so we will be amending this agreement down the road. So just a heads up on that bureaucracy. So, and with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Christina. Appreciate the detailed explanation as always. Any questions on this?
I do have a
CSBG grant.
question,
Commissioner
Mr.
Tillman.
Chairman. Don't we do this several times a year, these community block? Or is this once a year only?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Tolman, so the block grant is an annual grant. It's not a 2-year grant. We do the prevention grant, we do TANF grants. I'm not sure if you're thinking of that.
Okay, all right.
This one takes up the majority of my time. It is extremely time consuming for compliance. Without going on and on, but yeah. So this is an annual grant. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to say, it has been extremely enlightening for me working with the tripartite board under Christina's leadership, I will say. She does a fantastic job. It's very humbling to see the number of people that we have in our community that are at the poverty level or below. And I think that this board and this funding provides extremely necessary funding for a lot of these people that would have no other means. So I think it's extremely important. And as I say, I'm humbled when I see what's out there. So I think it's important for us to recognize that we have those people and those families out there who are in that need. And this is a method of helping them.
Yeah, well said. Any other comments or questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to ratify and approve the federal fiscal year 2025 Community Services Block Grant contract and approve and authorize the chairman to sign the contracts with the Rock Springs Young at Heart, Sweetwater Family Resource Center, and the YWCA of Sweetwater County.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous, and you're right on track.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Appreciate it. Next item is a break. We are right on time, so we will take a 10-minute break and resume at 10:20. All right, we will call this meeting back to order. We are on item number 4 under tab C of the action and presentation items, which is the ratification of the contract award for the ARPA HHS 1127 Southwest Counseling Jonah Facility Home Project. With us this morning is Public Works Director Gene Legursky. Good morning, Gene.
Good morning, Chairman West and the rest of the county commissioners. I know this is a ratification. I don't know how deep you want me to go into this, but this is the 4th of 4 ARPA projects that were bid out and finally approved. Same struggle that we've had on all of our other buildings is getting enough contractors, enough bonding capacity and stuff like that. There's a ton of money out there and a lot going on in Sweetwater County. So this was good to get this. What we did is just to explain a little bit as we bid it 3 other times. This 3rd time, what we did is we actually did 2 add alternate bids and 1 deductive bid. And what happened with that deductive bid is we took out all the exterior asphalt paving and some remediation just to make sure that we got underneath the SLIB award amount. And then as Chairman Slaughter read in my report, talked to SLIB, and SLIB's going to allow us to have that money there. And then hopefully what we can do is find some other money to match that and put that back in at a later date. You know, the hard part is right now is everybody knows that's not going to be paved until June, July of next year. So people are guessing. They don't know how much asphalt oil is. They don't know how much all that stuff is. So hopefully we'll get a better answer and not a guess answer when we get closer on that, but we'll keep that alive. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Thanks, Gene. Any questions on this bid award, commissioners? Not an entertain a motion to ratify and approve the bid for the fiscal year 25 Southwest Counseling Grant ARPA HHS 1127 Southwest Counseling Jonah Facility Home Project to WS Construction LLC for $643,100 and authorize the chairman to sign all necessary documents.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
I did say aye, sorry.
Moving right along to item number 5, we've got the acceptance of a quit claim deed from Rock Springs Fuel Company to Sweetwater County for a road right of way through the Northwest First Force. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to read all that. I'll hand it back to Gene. I can't get into the township and understand your lingo on that one.
Okay, that's fine. And if I have your permission, Mr. Chairman, C5, 6, and 7 are all basically the same. It just deals with different landowners. So I'll kind of explain everything on that. I was approached some time ago by Mayor Wolf and Ozzie Knezovich out in Superior. There's a road that heads northwest out of the town of Superior that the county got given by the state long time ago. It's never had a very good legal description or anything on it, just kind of been this road, and it refers to some obscure YDOT project that YDOT can't even find. In the middle of this road, there's a big tract of land that the town of Superior owns that's actually outside the city limits. They are actually going to split a portion of that off and sell it to Ozzie Knezovich. And they had a hard time identifying exactly where the road was. So we took it, they called us and said, hey, so what we did is we kind of split everything up and said, yeah, we'll take on some of the responsibility. Everybody else take on some of the responsibility. And we got a definite road right away through the piece that's owned by the town of Superior and Rock Springs Fuel. And now we have it through that whole entire quarter section. So it's a really good, it's a win-win. So what we did is we had 2 quit claim deeds, one from Rock Springs Fuel, one from the town of Superior, and then a resolution so we could codify everything and explain what went on. So 25 or 30 years now, they're not looking at all of us like we didn't know what we were doing. So that's basically 5, 6, and 7. And we could take them in that order and I can answer questions
Okay.
on each one.
Any questions on the first quit claim deed, given all of that, commissioners? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the quit claim deed from Rock Springs Fuel Company and allow the chairman to sign all necessary documents.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh my goodness. Commissioner Slaughter, excuse me. Who was the second?
I did.
Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Item 6 is the other quitclaim deed from the town of Superior. Any questions on this one? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the quitclaim deed from the town of Superior to Sweetwater County for a road right of way and allow the chairman to sign all necessary documents.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Slowing down to try and help Sally out. I'm kind of on a roll today. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. And item number 7 is the resolution Gene just referred to, Resolution 2411 EN01, County Road 87, the Upper Superior Road. Any questions or comments on the resolution? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 24-11-EN-01, County Road number 87, the Upper Superior Road, and allow the Board of County Commissioners to sign resolution as presented.
So moved again, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is unanimous. Moving right along to item number 8. We've got a temporary construction easement for 9 Mile Road, and we'll hand it back to Gene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this is part of the Wyoming Energy Authority grant that we got and the first 1.5 miles, almost 2 miles of 9 Mile Road. In the surveying and the design of it, we need to actually get into the trailer court that's owned by Barry's out there a little bit to reconstruct some of the back slope and to get everything to drain better. If you guys are ever going down the highway and you see the billboard that usually has thank the miners or something like that on it, that's right by where this is at. It's right at the intersection. What it does is it overall improves the drainage, improves the stability of the road because we're getting rid of water better. So what we did is we approached Mr. Varley. He kindly granted us a construction easement. It's for 2 years or until the construction is done. Hopefully we'll have the construction done November of next year. And this will just go away. It's just for that time so that we can get in there and reconstruct some stuff.
Very good. No action on that one?
Yes.
There is. Let me see. Oh, I see it now. Apologize. Any questions on this easement, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the temporary construction easement agreement as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Item number 9 is the award of the Wyoming Library Multipurpose Community Facility Program, Sweetwater County Library Project. And with us is Gene, as well as Sweetwater County Library Director Lindsay Travis. Good morning.
So with this, third time was a charm. We got 2 of the 3 buildings with a viable contract. I'll put it that way. With the contractor that turned in all the appropriate paperwork, had all of his bonds and everything in place. And the first one is for the Sweetwater County Library facility. So it's a great grant. Lindsay's been working hard with the State Library Board to make sure we push this off 2.5 to almost 3 months. And just so we could get this under construction and not miss any of the money that they're actually going to give us for this project.
You know, it's a problem when you can't find people to bid projects because they're concerned about their bonding capacity.
It is.
Says there's a lot going on in
There's a lot going
Sweetwater,
on.
which
is good.
is
Good and
good.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is.
Questions on this award, commissioners? Not an entertain a motion to award the Wyoming Library Multipurpose Community Facility Sweetwater County Library Project to Titan Construction and Restoration LLC in the amount of $328,970 and allow the chairman to sign all necessary documents.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is unanimous. Item number 10 is the award of the Wyoming Library Multipurpose Community Facility Program Rock Springs C Street Library Project. We'll hand it back to Gene.
Exactly the same thing, same grant. We just track all three projects within that grant separately. So same contractor, finally got all of his bonds, bonding capacity, all of that done. Turned in a good bid. So we'd just like to get it awarded just like the other one. And just so you guys know, we have the other White Mountain Library. We're going to redo the pre-bid and bid again. So hopefully in December, we'll be bringing this back for you and we'll be done with this one, other than the fun stuff, the construction.
Yeah. Very good. Thanks for that. Any questions on this award, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to award the Wyoming Library Multipurpose Community Facility Program Rock Springs C Street Library Project to Titan Construction and Restoration LLC in the amount of $377,010 and allow the chairman to sign all necessary project documents.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gene. Thanks, Lindsay. Appreciate your patience with that process. Next item on the agenda is item number 11. We've got the request for approval of an at-will employment contract for seasonal document scanner archiver position. Joining us this morning is HR Director Gary McLean. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. Before we get started, I want to use this opportunity to recognize Keaton, Mary, and Commissioner Island Richards for getting their open enrollment done. So good job. You two still have a little work to do.
Hey, it took an hour on the helpline.
Yeah, yeah. So good work. If you need some help, stop downstairs. We've got about 76% done, so everybody's done a good job so
Good
far.
deal.
So we'll be wrapped up. With that said, before you is an at-will employment contract. As the board will recall, at past board meeting, the board approved filling a position for kind of a joint position for the sheriff's department and the county attorney to fulfill first an obligation by the sheriff's department to meet the needs of a Wyoming statute requiring them to upload data for DCI on cold case files. And second of all, kind of a similar function with the county attorney's office to delete volumes of old files, getting those into an electronic format. We were fortunate enough to have some really good people interested in the position, but the individual that selected was a former law enforcement employee who'd worked with some of those systems and made sense to move with that individual. So this contract is, again, an at-will contract. It can be terminated by the employee or the county at any time. It indicates that in no circumstance will it be beyond 6 months, less than 30 hours a week, what the nature of the work is. And as the board knows, all contracts are brought before the county commissioners. And so this particular one is before you today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thanks, Gary. Any questions for the at-will employment contract before you, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the at-will employment contract for the seasonal document scanner archiver position as presented. Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Next item on the agenda is item number 12. We've got the 2024 holiday benefit discussion. And I'll hand it back to Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. Yeah, I guess it's almost tradition at this point to afford the various county commissioners an opportunity if they so choose to amend the current palette of approved days off around the holidays. Before you is a summary, one of the holidays, and we're talking specifically about Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, when they fall right now, and whether the board has any inclination to do anything to extend those benefits. Specifically, the Thanksgiving holiday is indicated here. Currently under the policy, the 28th and 29th, which are Thursday and Friday, are approved holidays. So I don't think it makes any sense to have additional days off around that on that particular period. Christmas, which is on a Wednesday, the 25th. Some previous boards have chose, as do many of the municipal entities, to provide Christmas Eve off, as you can imagine, with family and things traveling. That's certainly appreciated, and many employees take that off anyway. So that's one that I think is worthy of consideration. Again, one of the difficulties is that the county has accountability to the business community to file deeds and be able to obtain plates and titles and other things. So it's always a trade-off. New Year's it is January 1st, which is on a Wednesday. And again, some past boards have granted New Year's Eve off. This is a little bit more difficult, obviously, doing this because it's at the end of the month. There, as you've seen, there's always lines for plates and other things in that time frame. And then the final issue is there's been some discussion in the past, and some boards have approved kind of an employee incentive bonus or sometime on or around the holidays, which has been appreciated. And the cost per $500 of incentive would be about $122,000 total cost. So with that, I wanted to engage the board in any discussion. I think it's important, if the board chooses to do anything, that we communicate that as soon as possible. We're already in the 1st of November. I know people make plans to travel and have family in around the holidays. So if the board is inclined to do anything, we'd like to try to communicate that to employees as soon as possible.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate you bringing this forth for us to discuss. Any feedback on the discussion, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Slaughter.
Having been through this as an employee for many years, this is important to all of the employees. I've seen it firsthand and know what it means. With the holiday of Christmas falling on Wednesday this year, I would propose that we would give Christmas Eve as a holiday. With respect to New Year's and New Year's Eve, once again, it's a little bit different with it falling in the middle of the week. And I'm not sure that having New Year's Eve off is as important as what Christmas Eve is. But I do think that it's important that we recognize our employees. And I would think that doing a $500 bonus in place of doing another specific day off around New Year's would be a logical thing to do. So that's kind of where my thought would be. It would be $122,000, as Gary said, for us to do that at the $500 level per employee. So that's kind of where my thinking is.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any other feedback?
I think that sounds reasonable.
So you're thinking Thanksgiving as usual with Thursday and Friday, do Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, just do New Year's Day, and then an additional 500 incentive.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other feedback on that?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I think that's reasonable.
Agreed. Based on the feedback that I'm seeing, Mr. Chairman, I would make that in the form of a motion that we move forward.
We do have a motion to, I guess, approve of authorizing November 28th and 29th, a Thursday and Friday, as paid holidays for the Thanksgiving holiday, as well as Christmas Eve, December 24th, and Christmas Day, December 25th, along with New Year's Day, January 1st of the new year, while also offering a $500 bonus to employees. Have we handled part-time employees in the past, Gary?
Just prorated those.
Okay.
Prorated. So if you were, for example, a half-time employee, that would be 250.
Okay,
If you were, 30 hours, it'd be a percentage of that.
okay.
Mr. Chairman. Was that with FICA or with their benefits or
That's
they take home
it's-
500?
It'd be take home 500 and the 122 cost is total employment
Yeah,
cost. including
everything,
FICA
okay.
and those things, yeah. Thank you. I should have clarified that.
So that was ending in my entertained motion or my moved motion for Rob to include the $500 bonus.
As you stated, Mr. Chairman, I
Okay.
move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
I'd second.
Second by Commissioner Tillman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, County Commissioners. Obviously, the bonus amount, some departments will be able to absorb that. Many of the larger ones for sure will be able to. Others will probably wait till May, see where they're at, maybe do an amendment at that time if it's at all needed
Okay.
from a budget perspective. The small departments have one or two people in them, budget literally to the penny. But we certainly can wait till May to see if there's needed, because many of them that have vacancies, this won't have any effect on them. So I see no point to do a whole budget amendment when in many cases they won't be needed, if that's okay with the board.
That sounds like a plan to me. If everyone's good with that. All righty.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that forth. Commissioners, we are way ahead of schedule, which is always a good thing. Our next item is a break. So I guess we'll take advantage of that and try and get a hold of Devin. Devin's supposed to present to us at 11:30, so we're almost 45 minutes ahead of schedule. We'll get a phone call into him, take about a 10 or 15-minute break and try and resume.
Mr. Chairman, would it make sense to go into our executive session?
It is airport, isn't it? No?
Yeah, we need him here for that. Yeah. So we're gonna take a quick break and hopefully we'll resume in the next 10 or 15. All right, we'll call this meeting back to order. We left off with item number 14, which is the final item before the executive session before us this morning. We're still a little bit ahead of schedule, which is good for Devin's sake. With that, we've got a airport update from the Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport. That wasn't a shot. I just meant you got some extra time. So, morning, Devin. Thanks for coming early, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to come give you guys an update on mostly all things airport. I'm sure there's other things that are happening. We're quite busy that I probably won't cover today, but I tried to hit the highlights. I think it's been a minute since I recognized before you who our board members were, so I just wanted to give you all a reminder and also thank these folks for their dedication to our board and to the community serving in these roles. It's been, as you all are aware, a long couple years, and these folks have been through the ringer as board members, a lot of special meetings, a lot of executive sessions, a lot of tough decisions that have had to be made. So we have a rock star board, and just want to really thank Jim, Pete, Matt, Pete, and Sean. So I really appreciate their dedication to the board and their service. I also wanted to recognize our team members. So this is something that I always talk about our team, but I also wanted to point out something that really stands out to me. The fact that our average longevity at the airport is 14.4 years. So the years of service is behind each name there, ranging all the way from 20 and a half years to the least senior person, 6.5 years. So whether it be myself and Shannon on the admin side, or Daniel, Travis, Mike, Bill, Brace, or Tyrell on the ops side, it's a very small staff that does a lot of things for the airport and for the community, and just really want to recognize that team for everything they do. So, and also highlight the fact that they're committed to service, and the fact that 14.4 years of longevity is pretty impressive for an airport. So we're excited to see that. The hot topic everybody asks everywhere I go, what's going on with the terminal? How's the terminal going? And I am pleased to report it is going phenomenally well. It is on schedule and on budget. Everything is happening exactly the way we had hoped it would. And things that don't go exactly as we had hoped, there's contingencies in place to overcome those issues, and having a really good construction manager at risk on the project that has plan A, B, and C already lined up. So when things don't go perfect, whether a contractor not being able to get across South Pass because of it being closed, or a delay in a shipment on something, they have ways to overcome that and make sure that they stay on schedule. So I want to give you some updates there. Construction progress. MEP Ruffin has been ongoing. Framing glue lambs were installed. The glue lambs were installed last week. Airside civil and foundations is occurring just on the ramp side of the building. Old terminal interior demo. And there's a lot of other smaller items that are happening, but these are the kind of the big headers, if you will. And I have some pictures to show you as well. So here's some of the MEP Ruffin.
What's MEP?
Mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Sorry about that. My industry uses a ton of acronyms, and so I just get used to it. I apologize. If I use acronyms, please do the same and throw something at me. Just not a hot cup of coffee, please. But here's just an example of some of the MEP that's been installed. This is in the new East Edition. This is the main trunk line of some duct work, some of the water supply lines, a lot of electrical conduit. There's a new rooftop unit that's right above that ductwork that's been installed. Just really clean lines, really impressive work. I know that you're not here in this role today, Keaton, but your team from Vaughn's on your other job that you do, your part-time job, that they're doing fantastic work. So I always appreciate straight lines and clean installations. Picture of the glue lambs. It's hard to really tell, but they're wrapped up at the top there. They're wrapped in some protective material just to protect them from the elements. Structural steel team should be on site today, starting to put decking over top of those and securing them the rest of the way so that they're protected from the elements. This is going to be the new hold room once it's all done. These are pictures of the old terminal. So for any of you that have stepped foot in the old terminal, this is a picture as if you were standing where the old rental car door was going out to the rental car parking lot. So if you stood at that door, that's what this picture's from. So to the left is where baggage claim was. To the right, those kind of CMU walls that come out, that's where the rental cars were. And then all the way down the other end would have been the admin offices and baggage, or I'm sorry, ticket counters and the checkpoint. Here's another picture as I'm standing in the old Avis rental car space looking towards where baggage claim was. Those two garage doors you see there was the back of house for the baggage claim area. The checkpoint is that right kind of smack behind that construction worker that's right in the middle there. That's where the checkpoint was. Basically, all of those CMU walls you see along that wall there, those all come down yet, and that'll be happening this week and next week to allow us to reallocate the space in the terminal. And this picture is taken as if we're standing right outside the old airport admin office. So to the left, the very immediate open to the left you see there, that is where the entrance was coming into the ticketing. To the right there, that CMU wall had drywall behind or over it, and that's where the ticketing counters were. And then the checkpoint was just behind that. So just want to give you a little bit of perspective of all the work that's happened in the building. It's completely demoed out. They are in the process of removing the old terrazzo floors because the new flooring has to match up with the new addition, make sure it's completely smooth, and you don't want to install that tile on top of the old terrazzo floors. So that's the progress. Things, as I said, are on schedule and moving along. Construction financials and schedule. The project cost it still remains at $41,469,110. There have been no project cost increases. Obviously, we had the initial cost increase, but I'm talking under this contract. As we've started back, there's no new project costs added. The current planned move-in date, don't set this in stone, but the current planned move-in date is July 15th, 2025. Contractual substantial completion, August 26th, 2025. Contractual final completion is October 2nd, 2025, and there are currently no scheduled delays. So that's the current update on the cost and the schedule. I might just hit pause for a second, see if there's any questions before I dive into the rest of the financials here. Okay, good. And this slide you guys are probably gonna be the most excited about today. I stood before you all in May and basically asked you to take a leap of faith with me and the airport board and commit to backing the financials of this project to the tune of as much as $20 million. Since I stood before you and asked for that and you graciously said yes, I have since gone out and secured $22.2 million of funding for this project with for more funding potentially on the way. That is made up of $5 million of a loan from the Wyoming Business Council for 30 years at 1% interest. The first payment will not be due until likely around October of 2027 on that. They do not bill you until a year after you take your last draw, and it's an annual payment. So we basically don't have any payments due for a couple years now, which is nice. And then getting it at 1% interest is fantastic. So really appreciate the Business Council and SLIB there. We also secured a $2 million grant that can only be drawn down after the $5 million loan is drawn down though. So we would have to draw the $5 million loan down entirely before we could access that $2 million grant. That was the Business Council and SLIB's way of protecting state interests, which I supported and thought it was a wise move using taxpayer dollars to protect the state interests there. So the Business Council all in with their $3 million grant, they already gave us a total of $10 million on the project. Since I last met with you, the FAA has also stepped up and helped us considerably. They have allowed us to use 2 years of our airport improvement program formula money, the apportionment we get every year. It's approximately $1.3 million each year. They've allowed us to use 2 years of that, and we traded with other airports that were not using theirs. So we were able to give away basically our 2024 5 in our 2026 entitlement money to another airport in exchange for their 2024 entitlement money. So we were able to get that money on the front end. And then for the next 2 years, when we get instead of getting our entitlement grant from the FAA, I'll come before you and ask for approval to transfer those funds to another airport. So we've already received that money. We're just going to transfer we just kind of rob Peter to pay Paul. It's what's done in the airport industry because carryover for this program is not good. The way the formulas work, the way Congress wrote the federal law, if there's carryover money, the way it gets redistributed is very detrimental to our airport and to other airports. So it's important that if you can't use it, that you give it to another airport to use, and then you just get their money another year. So happy to dive deeper on that another day, another time. We also utilize just over 2.6 million of our bipartisan infrastructure law apportionment money. So that's a formula money as well that we received as part of IDJA. We had 4 years left to be able to use, and we committed to using 2 of them so far. We were successful. We applied for a $1.5 million supplemental discretionary grant from the FAA. We received $750,000 of that. There was $270 million available. There was $3.1 billion of requests, and we were successful in securing some of that money. And then just recently, within the last 2 weeks, we had applied for a $13.7 million airport terminal program discretionary grant. There was $970 million available nationwide. There was $8.1 billion of requests for that $970 million. We secured $7.5 million of that, and that is the 4th largest amount for airports our size in the country. So we had the 4th highest anywhere in the country for a non-hub airport. And the only other ones that were higher are significantly larger non-hub airports than ours. So that all came in together. And then the YDOT Aeronautics came in with a discretionary grant of $1.35 million. And then they will have $425,000 of matching funds to the federal grants that we've secured. So when you add all that up, that's $22,231,909. That completes our fundraising for this project. That means you all do not have any obligations moving forward on the capital costs of this project, nor does the city of Rock Springs. We are fully funded on this project now. So I just am thrilled that this worked out. I never thought it'd be possible to raise $22 million in 5 months. Don't ever expect me to be able to pull that off again, because I don't know that I could, but we did. And so pretty excited for that. And I will tell you, I heard from 2 different entities, the Wyoming Business Council and the FAA, that by you all passing that MOU, you guys and the city of Rock Springs and the airport board, that gave them the confidence that this project was going to get done, that if they put some skin in the game, that there was a commitment from the local community to get this project done. Because then nobody wants to put in $7.5 million and then the rest of it not be funded. And so that MOU and your willingness to go out on a limb with us on that allowed us to put it right over the top to secure some funding. So really appreciate your trust and your support there. This has worked out phenomenally well, and just really appreciate that.
Devin, I'm going to interrupt you there because I think that's a very important piece to that slide. You first came to us, I think obviously it was a $22 million deficit, but you were anticipating a few different options, but the worst case scenario being upwards of 13.5 million. Then I think that came down to 11. And the best case was, as I recall, around 3.5 million for a local match. And obviously you got our support to move forward with that, but I'll tell you, we were nervous, and I think that's pretty remarkable that you're able to go out and secure the full amount where that doesn't require any obligations locally to see this project through. So I just want to say kudos to you. That's a pretty big task to accomplish, and you deserve recognition for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I might take a bit of the winter off now, but thank you. All right.
Mr. Jones?
Just to kind of tag on to the same comments, but a big thank you. I mean, was a pretty big strain on all of us at the time, but really that made it a strain on the taxpayers in Sweetwater County. So huge relief, obviously, for us, but a bigger benefit all the way around for taxpayers of Sweetwater County, both in the project and of course the funding that you rounded up. So thank you.
Absolutely. I do want to point out the loan is still there, and that will be, debt service we're going to have to pay back, but we're working our tails off, and you'll see that in some forthcoming slides to generate additional revenues to hopefully cover that, or at least offset as much of it as possible going forward. And we have some longer term plans that could help us pay that off much sooner at the airport, that as long as they come to fruition, things can accelerate even better there as well. So I just want to make sure it's very transparent. There is still debt service associated with this, but it's at 1% interest, and that's about as close to free money as you can get without being free money these days. So, but appreciate the support. As I shared in an email with you guys 2 weeks ago, I'm not done. I have submitted a request to the governor's office for a $2.5 or $2.54 million of IDGA funds, IDGA matching funds. So if you remember, the legislature appropriated $75 million to the governor's office to match IDGA dollars that come in on a 4-to-1. And so we have just over $10 million, or actually just under $11 million of IDGA dollars. And so we submitted a request for the $2.54 million. We won't find out till a little bit later this year. By submitting that request, it would allow us to be able to return some money to some of the funding partners like the Business Council and WYDOT, and not draw down those grants in full, and allow them to reallocate, if you will, general fund type dollars back into other projects in the state while utilizing those IDGA dollars to offset those. So we're still going after and trying to find ways to make the process even better. And I made commitments to all the people that stepped up and said we would help, including you all, that if we were able to get more than what we needed, we'd find ways to give back. And that's what we're doing through that. We still have the option of using 2 more years of Bill AIG, which is our apportionment IDGA dollars. And we have an opportunity to use 2 more years of our AIP apportionment. That totals $5.2 million. We hope to not have to use that now. If you read your MOU with us, it says that we're going to use 4 years of that, but it looks like we'll only have to use 2 years of it, thanks to the discretionary funding we were able to secure. That allows us to move that $5.2 million into other critical capital projects at the airport that had been pushed back and delayed as a result of the project. We still have delays on those projects because we did have to use $5.2 million over the 2 years that I talked about earlier. But this helps us bring that back forward a little bit, and the damage isn't as nearly as bad as it could have been. So I just want to point that out, that it's there. It is in the MOU that we're going to use all 4 years, but because of the discretionary funding, it looks like we won't need to use all 4 years. So we'll have to figure out if we need to do an amendment to the MOU, or if we have to make any changes there, or if we just make the MOU go away at this point. I don't know what that looks like, but we can evaluate that down the road with legal counsel. Next, I'm going to jump into air service real quick. So if there's any questions on the terminal outside of litigation, now would be the time to maybe jump into those if you have any.
So you're good.
Okay. So I have been in communication with Chairman West about air service. If you recall, back at the beginning of the year, the county chose to fund the line item for this contract with SkyWest, or with the state of Wyoming, for SkyWest airline service based on prior year's usage. I raised some concerns about that wouldn't be enough to cover us this year with the way the industry has changed. I've talked a bit about that in the past with you all, so I don't intend to necessarily dive back into that unless you have questions on those macroeconomic forces that are impacting regional air service across the country. But we did get our first quarter billing in, so I'm going to cover that a little bit, and what we would need for a budget amendment going forward from the county. Both the cities are fully funded for this. The county is not currently fully funded for this, but I'm going to talk a little bit about where we're at and why the numbers look that way and why we need additional funds. So the current status: advanced bookings continue to grow. I don't know how easy it is for you to see this. I know you should have printouts or it's on your computer screen as well. The advanced booking curve on the right was from this past Friday. We get this every other Friday from SkyWest, and you'll notice that each month as we move forward the line continues to be further to the right. And what this shows is on the left, I'm not going to try to remember which one's X and Y, but the vertical axis is the total booked passengers, and on the bottom is the number of days out from the trip. So basically, are people booking 80 days, 60 days, 40 days, 20 days before their trip? And so those curves have changed wildly from before the pandemic to during the pandemic, and they're starting to normalize to what they were pre-pandemic. And so you'll see every single month it grows. There's more advanced bookings earlier on that curve. Basically, September was our third best September ever in the airport's history for passengers. October was the fifth best October ever in the airport's history for passengers. We are anticipating 2025 passenger numbers to exceed 2019 passenger numbers, which were the third best in airport history, only behind 2012 and 2008, when there were large economic growth in the community. Obviously, I'm not factoring in what economic growth is happening right now. We very well could see even more and set a record in 2025, but I just don't want to get the cart before the horse there. Our schedule improved on September 1st, which has helped our bookings increase. As I've shared with you in months past, higher costs is what's causing us to need more money. The contract keeps getting more and more with SkyWest. Labor, parts, fuel all cost more than what they did years ago, labor being the largest and primary driver there. Flight crew on a CRJ 200, their salaries, their costs have more than quadrupled since 2019. And so the cost to operate an aircraft used to be, when I first got hired in 2015, we were under $2,000 per block hour. We are now close to $5,000 per block hour for air service. And it's not just our community, it's every community around the country. I will tell you, because we're part of the state program, it performs much better than the federal program that subsidizes air service around the state or around the country. Most of those bids are coming in with block hour costs between $7,000 and $9,000 for the same aircraft. So the contract terms we have in place with the state and SkyWest give us much better economics than what we would get if we were part of the federal program for the air service. Because we went from one flight to two flights, you have a bunch more capacity flood to market. So the natural progression is supply and demand. You see airfares drop as a result of that. So our average fare has been lower this summer than we would like to see it. And that factors into how much we actually pay on the minimum revenue guarantee. But that is a bit of a targeted goal, that you have that lower fare to get the market reacclimated to flying out of the airport. And then you slowly increase the fares back up to where they should be for market conditions. So we will see that happen, and it'll naturally happen in November and December due to the holidays. It'll weaken again in January, February, and then the second half of March, you'll see it increase again because of spring break. And then as we get into the busy summer travel season, by next year, our airfares should be back to where we want them to be. And that's important, because I think we're going to start beating the numbers we saw in the first quarter is why I wanted to share that. And as I just shared, we're going to see improvement. I also wanted to share this. This is a chart I share with my board each month. We've had 16 straight months of year-over-year passenger growth, 29.7% increase in employments this calendar year through the end of October over the same months last year. The red dashed line is this year. The green line at the top is 2012, and the next number is the next line is 2019. So we're already eclipsing 2019 numbers, which was a phenomenally good year for the airport. So you'll see that our September numbers were almost identical to 2019, and then our October numbers exceeded 2019 numbers. So things are definitely going well. The big dip that you see that right there on April, that was the 2020 pandemic ridden year where we lost 96% of our business. So things are definitely trending in a positive direction. How that impacts the numbers, the the SkyWest MRG, I broke this down between the different entities that fund it. The state max for the fiscal year is 2.645 million. Through quarter one, they expended 676,000. The county max, 793.5. Through the first quarter, 202,827 was expended. City of Rock Springs max 581.9. 148.7 is what was expended. Then City of Green River max 387.9 and they've expended 99,160. So you guys had budgeted $250,000. So when you guys get your next invoice in January from the state of Wyoming, January, February timeframe, there won't be enough money in that line item to be able to cover that next invoice is what it boils down to. I'll pause there before I jump into this last part, and this last part will go quick. I know I want to keep you on schedule, so get you out for lunch.
Questions on those MRG numbers, commissioners? It's kind of a lot to digest, but I think you explained it well. Okay.
So basically, Mr. Chairman, is what my recommendation to you all would be to process a budget amendment that takes your budget authority all the way up to the full contract amount that you're under contract with the state of Wyoming for. At least the county's portion of that. That would be my recommendation to you all. So.
It's only about $500,000. What happened there is we went back and looked at historic data during the budgeting process, and over, I think, the course of the last, I'm just going to say 4 years, that MRG amount that the county expended was under 250,000. And so that's how it was budgeted for accordingly this year. We caught it after the fact. Devin caught it after we'd already submitted the budget and had some concerns expressed. And so given the advertising and some of the errors that we went through during the budget, I just said, let's hold off and see what the numbers bring in. Part of the change obviously was adding the second flight. And so we wanted to see basically what quarter one brought forth, and then we could adjust accordingly from there. So that's the point where we're at.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I guess I just want to be clear on that too. This is not necessarily a new request to just kind of add on to that. This is a contract you all had already approved, and there was just a decision to budget less than the full contract amount based on that prior usage. So this is not me coming and asking for $500,000 again. It's something that was already approved in a prior contract agreement. So with that, jump into some other updates here. Fiscal year 24 projects, our master plan. Thank you all for your involvement in that, coming to the community meetings. We are waiting for the final airport layout plan approval from the FAA. The FAA does not approve the master plan, but they approve the airport layout plan, which is a derivative of the actual master plan. So we're awaiting that final approval. We have received their comments. They had minor comments on fixing some notations on the drawings and things like that. And those have all been fixed and resubmitted. So it's just a matter of time before we get their signatures on that. Those final documents will be posted on our master plan website, rksmasterplan.com, when they're finalized. And that'll all be living in the World Wide Web for the foreseeable future, and access for the public to be able to get there. Runway 321 lighting project, we're awaiting. So this project included doing all new lighting for the entire crosswind runway at the airport. It's about a $1.7 million project. All but 2.5% of it was funded by the FAA or WYDOT. And we're waiting for the nav aids. There's a bunch of nav aids that were replaced on it for the pilots to be able to find the runway and land on the runway safely. Those have all been installed, but the FAA has to come do flight checks on those. Basically, they fly in a jet and they just shoot approaches and make sure that everything's calibrated correctly. Their plane broke down, so we're waiting on them. It'll probably be another month or so. The runway is open. The edge lights are working. It's safe to use, but there is no approach systems to that runway right now. So it's a straight visual runway, but it is open on days that it's needed. Absolutely no problem for people to use that. We do have a couple of materials that I found out did arrive yesterday. We had 4 taxiway lights that the contractor was shorted, and they were able to get those lights, and they'll be installed today. We hope to close that project out here in near future. It will be under budget, not by a ton, but by about $500,000, or I'm sorry, $50,000, not $500,000. I wish it was $500,000. but by about 50,000. So those grant funds will get restored back to us to be used on a future project because they're apportionment dollars. So once we close out the grant and they zero out the grant, that money will go back into, if you will, our FAA account that we can use on another project. Our ARPA water and sewer project. So we secured a grant from the SLIB for ARPA money for water and sewer upgrades at the airport. It was about $1.2 million worth of work. The bids came in really, really low. Local contractor bid it and it came in really low. So we went back to SLIB and asked for additional scope to be able to utilize that funding to make further improvements at the airport. And so we are working on wrapping up all those new improvements that we added to the scope because SLIB did approve that. And then we are awaiting word from SLIB on the redistribution of funds. Because any recapture funds they have from this program and others, it's our understanding that they're proportionally going to give that money back out to local entities that committed a local match. We committed a 50% match when we applied to try to score high enough to secure the money. So we'll get credited back some of that money, is my understanding from the governor's office. So we just don't know what that looks like yet, but we're looking forward to seeing how that comes. And then our new runway broom is scheduled for delivery in June of 25. That is a 15-month lead time item. So right now it's scheduled June of 25. That's a picture of what we're getting from another airport. It's a front mount high-speed runway broom that allows us to get our pavement down to bare pavement, because that's a requirement for us to comply with FAA regulations, is we cannot have slush, snow, ice out on our runways. We have to have it down to bare pavement or else it's not safe to operate. And so this is a nearly $1 million piece of equipment that will help us ensure that our runway is open and safe for operations each winter. So that's coming June of 25. Things we're looking at in 25, 26, crack seal project every 4 years. Both the crack seal and the seal coat project are projects that we partner with the state on. They rotate around the state in 4 quadrants. On the crack seal project, they cover 80% of the cost of all the crack sealing at the airport. And on the seal coat and marking, they cover 90% of the cost of all the seal coat and marking. That happens every 4 years at our airports, which allows our pavements to last much longer. As you can imagine, you know what it costs to build a mile of road, County Road 1 or whatever roads you guys have been dealing with. A runway is exponentially, or a taxiway is exponentially more expensive to build. And so when we can maintain them using largely state funds, we absolutely say yes, and make sure that we get the maximum longevity out of our pavements by doing that. And then we are busting at the seams on hangar. We are over 170% leased on hangar space this winter, effective 3 days ago on November 1st. And so we are working on scoping out a conceptual design for additional hangar capacity with the hope that we can use some of those funds we saved from the terminal project, those formula funds, to be able to put towards hangar construction. So those are things that are on our radar for 25 and 26 as we look forward. Want to give you some stats now that I know the fire season's never over, but our seat base is closed for the winter. The seat base at the airport flew 53 missions, 14 fires, 25,448 gallons of retardant, and 3,900 gallons of water. So having 2 seats based at the airport at our base we built in 2020 paid dividends for our area. The closest fire was down at the, I'm drawing a blank on the ranch name down south. Ramsey, thank you, Ramsey Ranch. They flew quite a few flights on that fire. And then there's other fires around the state and around the region they dispatched 2 out of here. So that was by far our busiest year we've had since we opened the seat base. And so we're excited to see that continue to grow from an airport revenue standpoint. We don't want to see people's property burn or anything like that, but this is a key component of revenue for the airport. So as they operate and as long as they base aircraft at the airport, seeing them get dispatched generates landing fees, water sales, and fuel sales that are critical to our bottom line.
It's all single engine, right? SEAT is single engine air tactical.
Yes,
or something.
yes. I was informed that there is potential that starting as early as next year, due to some upgrades BLM is going to be making to the base, that they could support LATs, the large air tankers, not the VLATs, but the large air tankers. We designed the pavement to support the LATs with the hope that they would bring them in eventually. And we received word that it's going to at least be opened and available for that type of service if the local BLM folks have their way. They're adding some equipment in the spring that allows them to mix the retardant quicker and more efficiently so that they can fill larger aircraft, basically. So. All right, and then my last slide, just a couple things we have happening. We have a new aircraft maintenance company moving in, a Part 145 repair station. I've told you that before. They are staffing up. They have job postings out. They're looking to hire folks right now. We are in final discussions on a new Part 61 flight school that will set up shop at our airport. So we'll have both aircraft maintenance and flight training. Our rental car concessionaire agreements expire June 30th of next year. So we have an RFP hitting the street on November 18th, where we will go out to secure new rental car contracts for the next 3 years. The economics of those have changed considerably. We expect a significant increase in revenue on that line item over what we generate today. Rental cars is one of our largest revenue sources out of fuel, except for fuel sales. So we're excited to see that revenue line item grow. Our fuel supplier agreement expires June 30th. So who we buy all of our fuel from expires June 30th, and we'll be going out on an RFP for that in about a month to select a new fuel supplier. That has the potential of changing significant economics for us as well. Everything from fuel truck leases to credit card processing fees to the differential we pay for the fuel, to marketing support, to business development funds they may provide the airport. There's a lot of different things that can come about as a result of that RFP. Unfortunately, while we've secured a bunch of federal dollars, those always come with strings. So we have recently had to implement a Title VI plan, which is non-discrimination plan. And that is a very cumbersome and time-consuming process. We had to spend about $40,000 to implement that plan unexpectedly. And the ongoing costs of that plan are likely to be about 20 grand a year to maintain that program going forward and do all the community engagement that's required to reach out to disadvantaged population centers that the airport serves. We also have to provide limited English proficiency translation services at the airport and things like that. So we're going to have to definitely change our operation moving forward as a result of that Title VI plan. Every 3 years, we have to do a full-scale emergency exercise. We're due for that in April 2025. So if you guys, hopefully we'll pick a Saturday that you're available and you can volunteer to come be a victim for that and get painted up and look like you were in a aircraft disaster, so that our mutual aid, our firefighters at the airport and our mutual aid partners in the community can come practice and pretend and plan out how we respond to a real aircraft accident if it were to occur. And then I believe I've shared with you last item here. We are excited to host the 2025 Air Race Classic. This is 40 to 60 aircraft that are piloted by all female crews that race across the country. They race against themselves, their own time, basically. But they travel across the country racing, and we'll be hosting them in June of 2025. We will be looking for 40 to 50 volunteers over the course of 3 days for that event. So be looking for that information coming out after the holidays in early spring. We'll be working on gathering volunteers to help put on a great event and showcase our community to 100 or so aviators that are racing across the country. So I tried to go very quick. My throat hurts now, but any questions, happy to answer them.
Thanks, Devin. Any questions on the airport update or comments, commissioners? Well, as always, you got a lot going on out there, and obviously pretty challenging year with some of the different funding, I guess, challenges, and still trying to run the airport and the other projects that you've got in the meantime, which is no simple task. So we appreciate you coming over and keeping us apprised of everything that's happening over there, and we'll continue to support you in the future. So we look forward to, was it June or July?
July is when we
Roughly?
plan to move in. Yes, mid-July.
We'll look forward to that. It'll be a nice summer treat. So
I hear that's 100% contingent on the mechanical and the plumbing getting done in a timely
we'll be
manner.
done way ahead of that then. No, thanks for the update. We appreciate that. Commissioners, this does conclude the normal action presentation items on the agenda. The next item is an executive session to discuss litigation. I have a conflict for this, so I would ask and have asked Commissioner Slaughter to run point. He graciously agreed to do such. So with that, I'm going to recuse myself and hand it over to Commissioner Slaughter.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move into executive session. All those in favor? Is there any discussion? Excuse me. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. We are moving into executive session.